What's up, guys? Justin Coffin for the 330 Sports Show. I'm recording this on Wednesday, August 27th. It's probably going to come out Thursday, August 28th. But either way, a day or two ahead of the Ohio State-Texas game and a big week one of college football. We are going to talk all sorts of stuff. We're going to get into, obviously, the number one Texas is coming into Columbus to take on the 2 in the coaches poll, 3 in the AP poll, the Ohio State Buckeyes, defending national champs. These two teams, most recently played. Texas's last game was against Ohio State. And then before the national championship, Ohio State obviously took on Texas in that great semifinal game down in the Cotton Bowl. So that's going to be the first thing we get into. We're going to get into just a little bit of, this weekend is obviously special. If you like college game day, you got Lee Corso retiring. It's the last time he's going to wear headgear. He started in Columbus. He's going to end it in Columbus. So maybe he puts on that Buckeye Brutus head one more time. Maybe he goes the Longhorn. Who knows? But that should be fun. But we're going to compare and contrast that with the big noon kickoff and Dave Portnoy and all that stuff that Fox is doing. But luckily, if you haven't seen YouTube TV, if you, like me, are a YouTube TV person, they at least have came to a quick settlement that will at least extend through this weekend. So still could be trouble down the road on the table, but at least this weekend, they agreed to, shelf that and, negotiate. We're also going to talk college football playoffs and Heisman Trophy. We're going to pick our conference winners, and we're going to do a really quick 10-person draft for who we think is going to be the Heisman Trophy. And I keep saying we, but I'm going to bring on my co-host for this show. We're going to bring on Greg. Greg is in Columbus. Greg will be at the game on Saturday. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the local weather reports I saw, it looks like 68 at kickoff and sunny.
Yeah, I've heard anywhere like 68 to 72, which is amazing because I think we've all been in the shoe in those metal seats in the first game of the season when it's 95 degrees and it feels like about 110. And the way the summer was going, it sure felt like that was going to be what we were going to face. So perfect weather for the fans and probably more importantly for the players.
Yeah. Well, hopefully don't see a lot of guys going down with cramps and stuff like you normally would in an early September, late August game. But I remember a game, I think it was like 2009 or 2010. We opened up the season on a Thursday night versus Marshall. And like you said, I remember it being so hot, like people literally getting dragged out of the stadium because they were like dehydrated or whatever, like hopefully, not elderly, but, but like literally they were bringing like gurneys out to get people out of the stadium. But regardless, that shouldn't be a problem for Saturday. Perfect weather and 1 versus 3. You really can't ask for much more than this. So I guess just I'll leave it, give it up to you. What's your initial thoughts of just this game, this matchup, and the historic implications too?
Yeah, I mean I feel like we've talked about this before in like season preview podcasts about just like there's a Christmas morning feel to the first game of the season.
Yeah.
Which there's excitement anyway, no matter who we're playing. Like, what do we have? Like, I think especially with a team like this, we know obviously some of the key pieces on the team come the returning stars from, last year, the Jeremiah Smiths, the Caleb Downs, etc. But there's so much we don't know. And to combine that with like a 1 versus 3 matchup.
Sure.
Against, a program we knocked out in the semifinals last year, who's going to be hungry for revenge. Really, probably the two biggest programs in the country. I think probably still the 2 biggest schools in the country. In the playoff era where like where you used to would almost look at this game as like an elimination type game, but it's
Yeah.
actually, I think it's the complete opposite. I think it's like a winner of this game is probably, barring something crazy, almost guaranteeing themselves a playoff spot. So it's almost like a get yourself, it's like a supercharge, get yourself into the playoffs week one game. And if you lose, not the end of the world. Obviously you want to show, well, nobody ever wants to lose. You don't want to lose early on, but so it feels like it's high stakes, but like we're in a new era of what high stakes really means for an early season matchup. So I feel like it's like, and coming off a national title, it's almost like it's a little bit more fun than like, if we were 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, coming into a game like this, like, oh shit, game one of the season, like we got to win or we're in big trouble.
Yeah. And I think you set that up perfectly. The new world of college football. I mean, look no further to, unfortunately, the game against our rivals last year. We dropped that one in a heartbreaker, and then that leads to a team meeting, which fires up, which puts us on this epic run last year to go on that 4-game winning streak throughout the playoffs to hoist that national championship. So Ryan Day is now championship head coach Ryan Day, which is fantastic. He's going to have like hopefully a new aura around him of confidence, maybe like a don't give a fuck type attitude here and there, which is kind of what you want to see in these bigger games. But with that said, what do you think about Ohio State's offense and defense? You lose your coordinators, you're bringing in 2 new guys, obviously well-known people, but you're bringing in 2 new guys in Hartline to run the offense, and you're bringing in Matt Patricia to run the defense. What's your thoughts on that? Like the cohesion?
It's I think you did hit it on the head, though. The point you made on like hopefully a little bit more of a the kind of the knock on Ryan Day over the years has been conservative in big games, tight in big games, maybe like a little bit of playing not to lose, a little bit of conservative play calling. I'd imagine you'll still see that on Saturday on offense, but more because of our quarterback than anything, right? You don't want to. You want to keep things relatively simple, especially early on for the quarterback. But yeah, there's just changes. It's changes abound. So I feel like, when you look at this game and how this game plays out, I think it's probably, I expect it to be clunky on both sides, especially early. But I would lean towards it being more of a defensive football game. And you have, again, Arch Manning has played a fair amount, so I wouldn't say that he's like, this is not like his first, real big game or game at all. But he's still young, and this is the first time he's really getting the keys. And obviously, Sayan's first time getting this opportunity in just a massive, massive game. So, and like you said, new coordinators on both sides. So, boy, it just feels like one of those games where both quarterbacks are 100% going to make some mistakes. And it feels like one of the biggest mistake loses type game. If overthrowing a receiver who might be open down the field, or maybe throwing a pick in the middle of the field at some point is going to happen, but the pick six or the red zone turnover in a key situation, those are the mistakes that have to be avoided. So I guess this is kind of a long-winded way of saying that, this feels like one of those games where the biggest mistake is going to cost the team who makes that mistake.
Yeah. And I mean, you look right there at the line. I've seen the line as low as 1.5. I just went off the FanDuel line. It's 2.5 here, total of 47.5. So Vegas thinks this is going to be a low scoring game, 23, 22 type, 24, 25 type game in that range. But, like you said, this could come down to just moving the ball, being smart, and go back to Jim Tressel era, make each drive end with a kick, whether that's a field goal, whether that's an extra point or a punt. Don't turn the ball over, and take care of the ball, and you probably come out victorious in this game.
Yeah.
So,
but the good thing is when you can take when you want to take a shot, you have the best player in the country to take shots with. As well. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It could be, it just feels like if this game's like 10-7, like late in the first half or even into the third quarter, I won't be surprised.
Yeah. And honestly, that's probably all we can ask for. A game that's within, a field goal, a touchdown, going in at home. What more can you ask for? Maybe the best two teams in the country. We'll see about that. Penn State might have something to say about that. There's a handful of other teams might have something to say about that. But these two teams, arguably the most two talented teams in the country, going to be there on Saturday in Columbus. So, and like you said, when in doubt, throw it to number 4. He's going to give you the best shot there. So, we talked a little bit about Ryan Day, and this resume is absolutely ridiculous. So 70-10 now. So he's got an 87.5% winning percentage, 15-8 versus top 10, 7-7 versus the top 5. I thought he couldn't win big games. That mantra was there for a while, but he has got that monkey off his back. But hey, why not keep it going? Why not just keep it rolling? And I believe I heard a quote. You can, somebody out there can correct me if I'm wrong, but when he said to Julian, saying like, just win. We don't need like spectacular plays. We don't need to win by 30. We don't need to blow these guys out. We need to win by 1 point, whether, whatever it might be, just go out there and get the W. So I don't know where, like, this team, especially on the offensive side of the ball, is so talented. And then on the defensive side, you got the best player in the country and a lot of really, really good, talented guys, maybe just unproven. So if we know anything about Ohio State, it's, the old saying, you don't rebuild, you reload. And I think you're going to see, like you said, a lot of unproven guys, but a lot of guys that are going to be the next, JSN or Marvin Harrison or, whoever it might be at running back too. So James Peoples getting out there and a lot of people have compared him to J.K. Dobbins. So if you get anything like J.K. Dobbins in the backfield this year, Ohio State's in for a pretty good season. So, all right, we're not going to make predictions and stuff right now or anything on this game, but obviously this being a big game, this of course being a Fox game, is a noon telecast. We're not going to get into the whole big noon BS debate. Why isn't that played at night? It is what it is at this point. But I do want to talk about big noon. They bring in Dave Portnoy, loudmouth from Barstool Sports. He has a great company. I will say I do love Barstool Sports. I love a lot of the podcasts on there. I love a lot of the people that work for them. But he is a human being, not just the Michigan thing. I can't even stand to watch him talk. He's just an annoying figure. And, he's created that personality and good for him. He's allowed to do what he wants and say what he wants. It's his own network, but they brought him in. I don't know if it's kind of like to be their Pat McAfee or whatever, but Pat McAfee's a football guy though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So your thoughts on him and the whole I don't think he was barred from the stadium.
No.
I think that was a lot of BS, so he could like build up the Ohio State soft mantra, which the team up north loves that, and their fans love that stuff. So your thoughts?
As I understand it, it was like, I mean, he was definitely, at least according to Ross Bjork, or at least what I saw, he was not barred from the stadium.
Yeah,
it was basically like, I don't know if they wanted it. I think what it sounded like is they wanted to do their own setup inside the stadium. And I think there's already 2 setups happening inside the stadium because Big Noon and Game Day both move into the stadium before the game. And I think the response from Ohio State was like, look, we don't really, we have 2 already. We don't really allow, it's not like, the 97-1, the fan is setting up inside the stadium. It's like, you can't just,
right.
We're not just going to create space in the stadium for like all these different shows. And I think
we didn't put in our past credentials to get on the field for the live 330 Sports Show podcast.
330 Sports Show is not setting up in 20 my seats to, it's just like, and I feel like, Portnoy, say what you want about the guy. I totally agree with everything you said. Clearly he's built a pretty large empire, and like, this was an opportunity, I think, to create a narrative that maybe was significantly exaggerated to fuel the rivalry, but also to help continue to line his pockets. So, I think it's a whole lot of nothing. But
but
I'm actually happy that we didn't bar him from the stadium, because I think that would have been a little bit kind of ridiculous. But I also kind of knew all along, as like, this doesn't seem like something that we would do, or it's just
the only thing I will say, like, I wouldn't want him barred either. Like, wherever he goes is going to fuel the fire of and he loves to just emanate hatred from obviously our fan base. And people like George Carlin once said, I love quoting George Carlin, as I know you do, but he's like, think of the dumbest person you know and realize half the people are dumber than that. Think of the average dumb person, and half the people are dumber than that. And it's like, people believe everything that is on the internet, everything.
Absolutely.
And you cannot just have a little fun. You can't just everything is like hatred, vitriol. And it's like, no, why can't we just have a little fun banter back and forth? And that's what it should be about. But unfortunately, it's not in this era. So anyway, we'll move on from Portnoy. Big Noon will be there, as you said. But let's go to College Game Day, and obviously Lee Corso. And so I guess let me ask it this way. Which one do you prefer, Game Day to Big Noon, and why?
Yeah, I mean, I guess they certainly both have their pros and cons. I'm just by nature probably just, and you may be the same way. It's just like, you kind of grew up on Game Day, so it is like and I'm definitely one that will flip between the two, like kind of as the maybe as you get kind of sick of one, or depending on, just to kind of see what's going on. But I mean, I kind of prefer Game Day. It's kind of the old, it's the OG show. I don't mind Pat McAfee. I mean, he's
grown on me.
Yeah, he can be a little, I mean, he's extra, but that's what he's supposed to be. I mean, he's basically and he's done stuff for the WWE, but he's a character. He, like a lot of ESPN personalities, like a Stephen A. I mean, he is a character. He is basically a WWE, character. Right. So he's there to rile up the crowd, but he does it in a way that's like it's not insulting. It's, what he's doing. He's having fun with it. I know, like, my kids generally like him. I think they have their moments where they're like, all right, I'm kind of sick of him, but he's fine. And like, I really like to have the addition of Saban on there.
Yes.
I mean, Desmond Howard, he's there's always going to be one wherever you go that's kind of the like whatever. I don't even really listen to what comes out of his mouth. And Herb Street, I mean, say what you want. I mean, he's had his ups and downs with the Ohio State fan base, and and there are stories that you hear, especially being in Columbus, listening to 97.1 about people who are pretty open about maybe what Herb Street might be behind the image that he presents. But he's, I still think he's a great, he's a great commentator. He's really good on game day. He's really good on the game. So I kind of prefer College Game Day. And it is really cool that Corso's doing his last show this week, and that's coming full circle, kind of where it all started. But that being said, like Big Noon, I think they have, Urban. Again, we've had our Urban's Urban, right? Like he's forever grateful for what he's done. We've come across him in certain circles, and he's kind of. We won't really get into that. He kind of is who he is. But he's really damn good. Like when you get a microphone in front of him talking football.
Yeah.
So like the analysis standpoint, I really do like watching Big Noon. So I know I feel like I'm giving a lot of non-answers today, but I think,
that's all right.
You got to put one on. I'd probably put Game Day on.
Okay. No, that's good. That's good. Yeah. I'm excited to see Corso. I will flip back from time to time because generally, ESPN has a little bit of that SEC bias kind of baked in, as they should, because they are owned by ABC and Disney, which have the rights to the SEC. So they're gonna obviously play up what they're showing. So I get that from both networks. But yeah, ESPN I think or College Game Day is the more well produced show, but like you said, they both have their pros and cons. But it'll be cool to see Corso there one more time. Hopefully, whatever headgear he picks, I think he's got to go Brutus. Just
you would think it would be a fitting end, but you never know. He likes to have fun with it and
rile up the crowd a little bit here.
Yeah. And I haven't heard I don't even know who the guest picker is going to be this week, but that's also kind of cool when they do. They usually bring good guests on. I'm sure they'll have somebody good this week.
That's true. I didn't even think about that. Well, I mean, it should be good. I know, we're going back 20 years now, but you and I'm pretty sure, I can't remember if we went to that game together, but in the shoe in 05, I definitely remember being in the shoe for that. That was Vince Young. And at the time it was weird. I believe it was Justin Zwick that started that game for the Ohio.
Right, yeah.
Troy Smith came in, and Ohio State, it went down to the wire, and Texas got us by, I can't remember the final score, but it was close. And then a year later, I had the privilege of going down to Austin, Texas, and watching an absolute beatdown of, that was Troy Smith, the Heisman year in 06, going down there, and that was 1 versus 2. The first of 2 victories over number 2 teams in the country for Ohio State that year. They beat Michigan later on in that 1 versus 2 matchup too. So that was pretty cool.
I recall that 05 game. Well, first of all, I'll never forget the name Limas Swede as long as I live. Like that was a winning touchdown. But I believe, I don't remember who our kicker was in. Was it?
I think it was Nugent.
Was it still Nugent? I think it may have still been Nugent. I just remember we missed a field goal by like literal inches, like in the fourth quarter in a game. And I don't remember the exact score, but I believe it would have put us up 2 scores. And then Texas, Vince, obviously the great Vince Young drove them down and threw that touchdown pass to Swede. But
25.
I actually wasn't at that game, but
okay.
But I remember I don't know if were you actually physically at the game? Because I actually remember watching that game on Lane Avenue. That's one of the few times, because me, like if I'm not at the game,
you want to be home.
Yeah. So, but for whatever reason, I think we had some people in town. and we watched the game like at, I don't know if it's at Heinegate or one of those places on Lane Avenue,
Oh
like
yeah,
the first half, and then what came home like at halftime. And
yeah. 20. I was there September 10th, 2005. 25-22 Texas was the final
gotcha.
score. And I very vividly remember the Ryan Hamby play too, which he dropped a touchdown.
Yeah,
Hope he's doing well somewhere, but that was not a great day. But like, listen to our leading passer on the day to show you how things have changed. Troy Smith, 5 of 11, 78 yards, 1 touchdown. But Vince Young in that game, 18 of 29, 270 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Also ran it 20 times for 76 yards. I think Reggie Bush won the Heisman that year.
I think you're right. Yeah.
But Vince Young, I mean, obviously led that team to a national championship. So that was amazing stuff. And that game was number 2, Texas, and we were the 4th ranked team in the country.
Wow.
In that game.
It's crazy that every time it's been 1-2, 2-4, 1-3, yep. And then whatever it was in the playoff last year.
Yeah.
Like 8,
8-5, I think, was the lowest ranking, and that was in the playoffs. Because I think this is only our 5th matchup all time, because we played them in a Fiesta Bowl randomly that they had won. So the series, all-time series, is 2-2. So again, 2 great programs going at it. And actually, this sounds weird, but like growing up as a kid, I was always an Ohio State fan, but I always kind of had like a soft spot for Texas. I always liked like Ricky Williams and Roy Williams, and they had some really cool. I think they had a quarterback named James Brown back in the day.
They did, yeah, absolutely.
But that's that's long gone.
This should be, I would imagine, I'm sure actually Texas will go in the all whites, and we'll be in our traditional home scarlet uniforms. Not sure you could have a better like uniform matchup either on top of everything
else.
That's
a great point. That's a great, some people are super into that. Some people don't care about that at all. But for like the classic football, rivalry, this is a great helmet game. It's a great uniform game. So it's it'll look great on TV. It would look better at night, but again, it'll still look good in a fall like Saturday afternoon. So all right, let's move on and let's talk a little college football playoff here. So I prepped Greg just a little bit for this. And we're going to go through each conference really quick. This is going to be like 5 minutes. We're going to go through each conference and give our conference winners. So there are 9 conferences. We're not including the Pac-12 because there's only 2 teams in the Pac-12 right now, with Washington State and Oregon State. Next year, it will officially relaunch as like a legit conference. Boise comes in and a bunch of other teams come in. But we're going to go through the Big 10, SEC, Big 12, ACC, Mountain West, Mid-American, the MAC. We're going to go through the Sun Belt, the American Conference, and Conference USA. So you good with that?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
All right. You're like, oh, shit. Let me type now. But so I'll give you my picks first. Or if you want to go back and forth, I don't care. What would you rather?
We can go back and forth.
All right. Let's go back and forth. And obviously, let's just start with the conference we know. Know the best, obviously. Let's start with the Big 10. I am going to go to no one's surprise. I'm going to go Ohio State because, and I'll show you why later, but I do think Penn State's going to have a great year. I think Oregon is very good. I think Illinois is an interesting team. I think Michigan is an interesting team. So I think there's 5 really good teams in the Big 10. But I think Penn State and Ohio State are at the top. And since Ohio State plays Penn State at home, I think that gets Ohio State into the conference championship game for sure. whereas Penn State might not. I don't know. So I'm going to go with Penn State for that reason over Penn State.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, it's tough. Like it's crazy when you kind of look out at what people are picking. It's like the overwhelming pick is Penn State. I like your thought on, I certainly like our chances to continue our dominance over James Franklin with the home game. So I think we get to the Big Ten championship. Yes, fuck it. I'm going to say Ohio State as well, but
it's all right.
But putting the caveat out there that if we have to play Penn State a second time in the Big Ten championship, that may be that may be a tough one, tough to win again in that game. But I just, as good as Penn State is, it's hard to until they do it. And maybe this is James Franklin's Ryan Day year. Maybe this is the year they do it. But
I've heard that narrative out there. It was like, well, it was Michigan's year in 23 with all those seniors, everybody coming back. It was Ohio State's last year. It's Penn State's this year. And that may very well be true, but like Franklin needs to get over that mountaintop. He's got to conquer not just Ohio State. He's got to beat a top 5 team, a top 10 team, So he's got a long way to go. But so
I would just say USC. You mentioned USC. I think they're going to be improved, which maybe isn't saying much. Now, are they? I haven't looked at their schedule enough to know. Can they actually? I know they don't play Penn State. They don't play Ohio State.
Yeah. And I think they have Michigan at home.
Yeah. Could they sneak into a conference title game? Possibly.
Yeah.
So,
okay. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, no surprise here. The Ohio State grads are going with the Buckeyes. But with that said, even if Ohio State doesn't win the Big Ten title or get there, that's obviously one of the big goals each team has but we saw it last year. Didn't matter. All that matters is what happens at the end of the season. So,
it is the last time we played in the Big Ten championship, that Northwestern game.
2020.
Unbelievable.
2020, the COVID year. Yeah. It's been a hell of a long time since we've been there. So hopefully we get back to Indianapolis before they move it out to Vegas or, wherever they're moving it to, in the near future. But yeah, we'll see. So, all right, Ohio State for both of us. SEC. I'm going with the Texas Longhorns. I'll say hook 'em on this one. So they have a tough schedule, but I'm not this guy that like hates on the SEC. SEC's damn good. As we all know, they've been the best conference in football for 25 years. Michigan and Ohio State have won the national titles the last 2 years to get it back up to the North, back up to the Big Ten. But I think Texas, even though it may or may not win week 1, regardless of what happens there, I think they take care of the conference and win the SEC. So I'm going the Longhorns.
I'm going to go Georgia for the SEC. Relatively favorable schedule. I mean, again, it's a gauntlet when you look at all these schedules. I think they have Texas at home. Is probably
they gave Texas fits last year too.
They did, and I think people maybe are sleeping a little bit on Georgia. I mean, there's Carson Beck doesn't get hurt in the last year's SEC championship game. I mean, there's probably a decent chance they end up playing Ohio State for the national championship. So they're not as far removed from greatness as maybe it seems. So I think Georgia. I'm going to go with Georgia.
Okay. All right. Very good. All right. One for Texas, one for Georgia. All right. Big 12. I actually was between Kansas State and Arizona State. And since we're recording the show, after Kansas State has already lost the game, I think for some reason, though, that does not count as a conference game, even though
really?
Against a conference team. I heard that somewhere. Somebody smarter than me can verify that, but I don't think it counts as a conference game. But even with that said, I'm going to go with Arizona State to win the Big 12 because I think they have the best quarterback in the conference with Leavitt. So I'm going to go Arizona State for no other reason than I think they got the best quarterback.
And it's probably a good idea to stay away from Kansas State when like the quarterback's dad and brother are like getting in a fist fight after a game. So there may be some general.
I had no idea Avery Johnson was a black guy either. So
didn't know that. Learned a lot from that video, but yeah, that's not a good situation. Hate to like poke fun at that, but that's
kind of funny.
I'm gonna pick Utah.
Okay.
So
I like it.
Why? I'd love to say I did like a ton of research, but I do. They
got a hell of an offensive line.
They've had, and last year was a down year for them. I think they're extremely well coached. When you look at their schedule, I mean, it's like the opposite of when you look at some of these team schedules, like the opposite of looking at an SEC schedule. They have Arizona State at home, they have Kansas State at home, they have Texas Tech at home. So they have their toughest opponents at home. I don't see Iowa State on their schedule. So fuck it. Utah.
Nice.
Kyle Whittingham. I like Kyle Whittingham.
All right. I like it.
Sounds weird to say Utah in the Big 12, but I guess Arizona State also sounds weird in the Big 12.
Yeah. West Virginia. Yeah. I mean, it's like, it's weird. The whole thing. All right. ACC. Speaking of weird, you got Stanford played in Hawaii, who's in the Atlantic Coast Conference. And you also got Cal, who former Ohio State quarterback Devin Brown is their backup quarterback at Cal. But in the ACC, I think this was the easiest pick I had. I'm going Clemson. Dabo.
Yeah. This we can make up some time on this one because I agree.
One of the better teams in the country this year, probably a top 5 team entering the season. All right, Mountain West Conference. This is this one. I had a little bit of trouble on this one, even though I think there's probably a natural favorite out there, but I'm still going with the natural favorite. I'm going to go with the Boise State Broncos on Mountain West winners.
Yeah, I agree there. It's hard to they've been a juggernaut. It certainly will have a chance to represent the group of 6 in the playoffs again. So I'm going to go with Boise as well.
Especially after UNLV last week with Idaho State almost beat them. So that kind of eliminated UNLV off my card there. All right, let's go to the MAC. A little MACtion here. And I am going to go with one of the many Ohio schools in the MAC, but I'm going to go with the Toledo Rockets to win the MAC.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that. I'm going to go with somebody on the Buckeyes schedule this year. I'm going to go with Ohio U. I know they like, and maybe it's because my coworker's been in my ear who went to OU, but I guess they play. I think it's their opening game or I think they open against somebody else, but I know they play West Virginia at home, which is kind of crazy. And I think they have a real chance to win that game. And just like playing kind of a gauntlet, like out of conference, hopefully it'll get them ready for the MAC. And I'm gonna go with OU, which I think they won the conference last year, didn't they? I believe they did.
I believe they did.
Yeah. So I guess for the repeat.
So they actually open up at Rutgers.
Okay, that's great. And then
but their second game, their home opener, is against West Virginia, which is really cool.
That's very. I guess it's a pretty hot ticket down there, which I don't even know how big their stadium is. So that's kind of cool.
Pretty cool and good for them for scheduling up too. West Virginia week 2 and Ohio State week 3. They do have Gardner Webb week 4, so get a little breather in between. But all right, I like that. All right, the Bobcats. All right, let's go to the Sun Belt. This one, the Sun Belt's probably the conference I'm least familiar with. But with that said, you got you got Indiana head coach Kirk Cignetti's former team, James Madison. Actually, the show's as most people know, based in Youngstown, and Youngstown State, the last time they played in an FCS championship, they played James Madison against Kirk Cignetti. That was Bo Pelini versus Kirk Cignetti in that game, but James Madison beat them. But James Madison now a member of the Sun Belt Conference, and I don't really have a good reason, but I'm going James Madison. Probably a decent president too. I don't know. I didn't really study up on him too much, but I'll go with that.
Yeah, admittedly, I'm not a scholar of the Sun Belt Conference, but James Madison has been getting a lot of love that I've seen out there, like also to potentially be a group of 6 representative in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So I'm going to agree with you and go with James Madison as well.
All right, very good. All right, to the American Conference, and this is actually the team I have getting into the college football playoff is coming from the American Conference. I have the Tulane Green Wave. So just a little outside the box. I was between Boise and Tulane, but I'm going with Tulane to make the college football playoff, and they actually open up their season hosting Northwestern, which is pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
Got a Big Ten game right to start off their season, so I think they got Duke on their schedule. That's gonna be tough. They play at Ole Miss, but I think this team can get it done. So I'm gonna go with Tulane.
I think that's a good pick. I'm gonna zag for the sake of zagging and go with Navy. If Navy can get to, as we know, we think we saw it. We played them it was about 10 years ago. And they're always going to be a tough matchup for whoever they play. If they can get to, as I agree, I think Tulane's going to be a really solid team and may be undefeated going into that game. But if Navy can get to the championship because they don't play in the regular season, they can potentially give Tulane fits with that option offense. So I'm going to go with the Naval Academy.
All right. Very good. All right. And final one, Conference USA. I'm going to go with I believe they're the Liberty Flames. So that just seemed to be the most, it was kind of like the easy one, the Boise pick there for me. So I'm going with Liberty to win that conference.
Well, this is a Youngstown show, right? So we'll I know it's not the same Liberty, obviously, but we'll go Liberty as well.
All right. Well, with that, all right. So there are picks for the 2025. I guess not playoff predictions, but conference champion predictions for 2025. So that's what we're looking at. We'll see. Hopefully we'll get a few of those right, especially in the Big Ten and elsewhere.
So. It'd be a game, but a lot of work to do to get there.
No doubt. Yeah. So we'll see what it gets to. But Greg, I'm going to show you my college football bracket here in a second, and then I'm just going to have you, instead of giving your 12, just like tell me what I got right, tell me what I got wrong. All right. So hold on one. All right. So here is my college football playoff bracket for 2025. I could be, again, way off on this, but this is what I put together. Notre Dame this year can make it as a top 4 seed because it is strictly based on rankings, not conference champions. So I have Texas at 1, again, regardless of what happens. I'm sort of, do you ever hear like undersell, overachieve for, just as a good life motto? That's kind of what I'm hoping for Saturday. My expectations are lower, so hopefully the Buckeyes will overachieve. But I have Texas as the 1 seed. I have Clemson as the 2 seed. I very well think Clemson could be a 1 seed. I think they can go 12-0 this year. Ohio State at 3, Notre Dame at 4, and then these are just matchups, but I'm just going to read the rest of the teams. LSU, Oregon, Tulane, Penn State, Illinois, Georgia, Arizona State, Alabama. So that gets all the representatives in there from each of the conferences. And, my matchups. Again, matchups aside, don't worry about that. What team might you put in there over another team?
Oh, that's interesting. I guess that I really like what you have there. I like Alabama in there. I think we haven't said anything about Alabama, but I think they are another team that I think is due for a bounce back and has a somewhat favorable schedule if you again knowing that the SEC is a gauntlet.
Yeah.
I would say the two teams, and I'm trying to think about replacement teams. The two teams that I look at and say, I don't know. Illinois, I know, has a lot of hype going into the season, and they should be very good. But it's a team like that having that hype has to, they're going to have to live up to that hype, and I think that's going to be difficult.
Yep.
So wouldn't be shocked if Illinois underachieved. And I know I mentioned USC. That might be a bit of a stretch, but if we're going to stick with the Big Ten, maybe USC kind of overachieves, takes advantage of a favorable schedule, gets to the Big Ten championship, and maybe makes it in. But I see what you're doing. It's like there's going to be like an Indiana. There's going to be a team that fits that Indiana spot from last year.
Yeah.
And then the other team that I just don't believe in, even though they have, one of the top Heisman candidates this year. Maybe it's just because of their head coach. Like, I just don't believe in LSU.
Yeah.
I think LSU is going to start the season out with a loss. It's just, again, we talked about Clemson being a top 5 or better team. Having to go to Clemson Death Valley week 1, I think is going to be really tough for LSU. The heat's going to come on Brian Kelly quickly. And it could spiral. And I guess the team that would come to mind as a potential replacement for LSU would be Miami.
Okay.
With Carson Beck, a lot of talent, always a talented team. If Beck can play to his ability, I think he was kind of much maligned at Georgia, but still an upgrade for them. Those are the two that immediately come to mind. But otherwise, I really like what you have here.
And now that he's not dating that one Cavender girl, maybe he can focus on football a little bit more.
Yeah, that's true.
But these are just some of our thoughts. Again, it is so hard to predict 12 out of 12. Last year, I think I got 9 out of 12.
That's really good.
Double check that, but I'm pretty sure, I got 9 out of 12, which I was extremely happy with there. And some of my parlays were happy with too in the preseason betting odds. But, again, that's a look at it. We'll see what happens. But, Greg, you mentioned week 1. Let's take a look at week 1 here and go after these games, some of these games here. So obviously Texas at Ohio State, we've talked plenty about that. So you think Clemson is knocking off LSU week 1?
I think so, and I think again, this is the heat's going to be on Brian Kelly. It already is. I can see Clemson winning that game by multiple scores and really ratcheting up the heat. But it could also be a really good game. I mean, Nussmeier's a great quarterback. LSU's got a ton of talent, but
yeah. Okay. So these are just some of the games for week 1. We're not going to go through all of these because we're still going to do a Heisman draft here. But outside of the top, and then you got Notre Dame at Miami too, which is obviously a huge matchup.
And if Miami's going to make the playoff, that's probably one they're going to have to get.
Yeah. I think Notre Dame is going to be a tough opponent, but I think you're right.
And I don't know the weather, but that could be a hot game. It could be a hot, humid Florida night. It is a night game, right?
I think that game's on Sunday night.
I think So that's a tough spot for Notre Dame. But obviously they're very talented.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. But I don't know. You're more of a numbers guy than I am. But like when I was looking and going through a lot of these spreads, it's like I think you could get some serious. Again, this is not a betting show, but you can get some serious good numbers if you have a feel on a team early. Because I feel like a lot of times they're putting the generic 3.5 points and 50.5 as the total, and a lot of. I think the key, like certain key numbers in football are right around that 52 mark or 49 mark. So they generally put that right in between, just to kind of gauge interest, and then they can adjust the line from there. But if you have a good feeling on one of these teams week one, I would fire right away, because you're probably not going to get those, and maybe you're horrendously wrong. Who knows? But but that's you get some good numbers week one before Vegas figures it out too. So any other thoughts on like some of the week one games before we go into our little Heisman draft here?
I guess not the game specifically, but I guess like I don't know. I know you're kind of a little bit of a Nebraska guy. Like I think Nebraska is another team that could potentially. I don't think we're talking like CFP, but could would I be shocked if they're a top 20 team by the end of the season? I think they have the ability, and Matt Rule certainly do to have a good season down there.
Yeah, I think they got Dana Holgerson as their OC as well, and you got Patrick Mahomes Jr. at quarterback. So you never know. But yeah, Nebraska, that'd be fun. That'd be kind of like the fun Indiana story this year, if they were to have a chance late in the season. And I mean, they've just made a bowl game for the first time in for however long last year. So
they've turned into a volleyball school, basically.
Yeah, they really have.
Right now, so
they really have. All right, well, let's get into our final segment here. Let's go to and we're not experts in this category, but we're going to go with who is the most likely to win a Heisman. And Greg's going to draft 5. I'm going to draft 5. And once they're off the board, you can't take that guy. This might also be a draft for who is the Cleveland Browns quarterback in 2026 as well. So with that said, Greg, I'm going to give you, I believe I'm going to give you all the odd number picks. I'll take the even. So I'm going to let you go ahead first, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, so we've talked about this team a fair amount. I think they're probably the safest bet to, like we talked about, win their conference, probably make the college football playoff. So I'm going to go with Cade Klubnik from Clemson.
Cade Klubnik. So let me get my odds here while I. All right, so Cade Klubnik. All right, so Greg is going Cade Klubnik plus 900. Is that what he was? You said plus 900?
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing, yeah.
All right, so Greg's going Cade Klubnik. I like that pick. He probably would have been my first round pick too. So, all right. Next, I'm gonna go with more of a longer shot, a guy that is leading the number 2 team in the country. He's an Ohio guy, Northeast Ohio guy. I'm gonna go with Drew Aller from Penn State, because if Penn State does win the Big Ten, it's probably because Drew Aller had a big year. So I'm gonna go with more of a narrative on that. Drew Aller plus 1,800 is going to be my my pick. So we'll see.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't love this pick right now, but I could potentially be eating crow after Saturday. But he is the betting line favorite. I'll go with Arch Manning. Obviously he's got a great opportunity to kick off his Heisman campaign Saturday with a good performance and a win. And yeah, clearly they're going to be in the mix regardless of what happens Saturday. So.
And I was going to say, I think even if whatever team loses Saturday, this is by no means the end of their season, especially if it's a close game.
Yeah.
They only have the whole rest of their season in front of them. And both of these teams, you could argue, are playing the toughest team on their schedule. So it's probably only going to get easier from here. So I like that pick. So Arch Manning or Cade Klubnik, two guys Greg's picked that would look good in Browns uniform next season. All right, so I took Drew Aller first. I am going to go with Garrett Nussmeier, the LSU quarterback. So very quarterback heavy here. And again, I don't love Brian Kelly, but he has coached a Heisman winner not too long ago with Daniels. So Nussmeier, I think he's a really good college quarterback. I think he could be a good pro quarterback. His dad is the quarterback coach of the New Orleans Saints, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll see. So Garrett Nussmeier, he is also plus 900, tied with Klubnik on the betting odds. So Greg, back to you.
Yeah, I guess it's got to go with Jeremiah Smith here. Yeah, that being said, I know Devontae Smith did it a few years ago. It's as we know, it's very hard. It's very hard for a wide receiver to win the Heisman, especially with a new quarterback. But if anybody can do it, it's Jeremiah Smith. And, as we know, he could go out Saturday with 12 catches, 200 yards, 3 touchdowns, and kick off that campaign. If he shows up in big games and Ohio State is a top 5 team, he's certainly, I would put him as a relatively safe bet to be in New York City, but I really don't think he'll win. I'll put it that way.
So I'm looking at the top 15 guys, and correct me if I'm wrong, but he is the only non-quarterback in the top 15.
Which is absolutely crazy. Which is really crazy that there's no running backs this year, really.
I am going to take a running back if he's still around in a little bit. But I with my third pick, so Jeremiah Smith to Greg. So with my third pick, I'm going to go with Lenoris Sellers from South Carolina. I just really like him as a quarterback. Those rec specs take a while to get used to that he wears, but man, that guy is a damn good football player. So Lenoris Sellers, once again, I think I'm maybe like, all 6 of these guys. Can we just put them on the Cleveland Browns next year?
Yeah.
I know Jeremiah Smith's not even eligible, but why not? Why not? So, all right, Lenoris Sellers, who is also plus 1,800. He's in that same group as Drew Aller.
Yeah, that's a great pick. He is incredibly talented and really fun to watch.
Now you got 2 more picks left.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with a guy that you mentioned earlier, Sam Leavitt from Arizona State.
Yeah. That's a really good. That would have been my next pick.
Yeah. Again, they have a chance to do some special things. Like, Cam Scattaboo and their run last year kind of got them on the map, like at least of relevance, of national relevance. So I feel like if they can continue on that path this year, they won't be like this relative sort of new to the big stage team that they were last year. Right. So I think that could help Leavitt if he really gets going. Yeah. And they have a chance to be really successful. And he was really impressive last year, even though Scattaboo got most of the hype.
No, I agree. I like that pick a lot. He is plus 2,000 on my sheet that I'm looking at here. All right, I'm going to go with 2 semi-long shots to finish out. But with my next to last pick, I guess it's not really a long shot, but this team might have the toughest schedule in football, but they might also have the most talented quarterback in football. I'm going to go with DJ Lagway from Florida. He's just super talented. He might end up playing 3 games because he's injured, but he also, if he gets them to 10 wins, they're a guaranteed college football playoff team, and he's a guaranteed person in New York. So I don't love the pick, but for a little bit longer odds, plus 2,500, he's a damn good football player. So I like DJ Lagway from Florida.
And I would say, like, we didn't really talk about this, but like, I mean, I like that because it's like, if you look at and I just did a quick Google search, but it's like Jaden Daniels like wasn't even one of the top, like, whatever, right? I mean, like, it's pretty common for the Heisman Trophy winner to sort of come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I know Ashton Genty didn't win last year, but I don't think he was. I don't know where he would have been in the preseason rankings. There's always that one guy at least that just kind of comes completely out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Hey, I mean, it's like, when in doubt, pick somebody that's incredibly talented.
Exactly.
So I'm gonna go. I guess, we mentioned Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
I admittedly don't know a lot about Ty Simpson, but
Yep.
I'm gonna pick Ty Simpson because if Alabama can have some success, then clearly he'll have an opportunity to be in the award conversation.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the Heisman stuff is about building a narrative too. You need a story. It's like, oh, Alabama was down and out last year, new head coach, but Ty Simpson comes and saves them and gets them back to the promised land, whatever it might be. I've seen a lot of people pick Alabama as their national champion this year. So if that comes to fruition, then he's his regular season is going to be amazing. I really want to take Julian Sayin with my last pick, but I'm not going to do it because I think if Julian Sayin got to New York, I think Jeremiah Smith is probably winning it. So I am going to go a little bit off the board. There's only one other quarterback I'm thinking about taking, but I'm not going to take him. I'm going to take a running back, and I'm going to go with Jeremiah Love, the Notre Dame running back, just because why not? Why not? That guy had more heart than just about anybody. I know he talked a little trash about before the Ohio State game, but I respect the hell out of that guy. And he had probably the toughest run I've ever seen in that Penn State game where he scored a touchdown to get them into the national championship game last year. So Jeremiah Love, probably the best running back in the country, and he's not going to be splitting too many carries. So I think he's going to be playing in a lot of games that matter. And obviously Notre Dame gets a lot of TV time on every game's a national game. So I'm going Jeremiah Love I think he's got an outside shot. He is plus 3,000. So we'll see. Why not? That's a pretty good lineup. The only other guy I wanted to list that didn't quite make the cut is John Mateer, the Oklahoma quarterback that transferred from Washington State. I think that guy's really good. And I think we're going to see a really good performance week 2 against Michigan for him. So I think that's kind of like my sleeper guy there. So any other guys we left off that you want to mention real quick?
Probably just Carson back again.
Yeah.
If Miami can get off on the right footing, I mean, clearly they can develop and have quarterbacks that could compete for the Heisman. So why not Beck?
Exactly.
All right. Somebody I'm not picking is Bryce Underwood. Who I see is plus 5,000, but I think I'm going to pass on Bryce.
Yeah. True. We've seen a couple great true freshman quarterbacks at Ohio State over just the last couple decades with Braxton Miller and Terrell Pryor, and neither of those guys they had their struggles, but they had great seasons and they still had their struggles. So I like that little nugget there. But we'll wrap up our draft here. Greg had Cade Klubnik, Arch Manning, Jeremiah Smith, Sam Levitt, and Ty Simpson. I went with Drew Aller, Nussmeier from LSU, Sellers from South Carolina, Lagway from Florida, and Love, the running back from Notre Dame. So, Greg, before we wrap up here, just any last thoughts on the Buckeyes and the Longhorns on Saturday? You're going to be in the shoe. Your expectations and just kind of final thoughts.
Yeah. Are we doing predictions too? Or are we going to hold off on it?
I wasn't planning on it, but screw it. Let's go. Let's go.
I don't know that I don't know. I guess I asked for
it.
You
teed it up. So
yeah,
you started off.
I think we hit on a lot of points. Again, I think it's going to, you could say this for most football games, but as I mentioned, I think it's going to be, somebody's going to make a big mistake, or you could look at it glass half full. Somebody's going to force a big mistake and make a big play.
Yeah.
For the Buckeyes, as I look, we haven't broken down the game too much, which is, totally fine. And I admittedly have not, I haven't, followed preseason practices like that closely. We all know Jeremiah Smith. We all know Julian saying, who's going to emerge at running back? Are we going to be able to run the football consistently against a stout Texas defense? You know what you're going to get. There's going to be NFLers on both sides of the field. Yep. Texas defense is notoriously full of NFL players. Can we run the ball and move the ball a little bit? But Max Clare, our tight end transfer from Purdue, we haven't been a big tight end team in a long time, but man, he has a chance to be, Jeremiah Smith aside, he could be Sayan's best friend in a game like this.
Yep.
High percentage passes, dump offs, whatever, opportunities to hit the tight end, I think will be key to us moving the ball, as well as being able to establish some type of running game. Because Texas keyed in on Smith and really kind of took him out of the playoff game last year. They may do that again. They may not be successful doing that, but and I know they had some better personnel maybe in the defensive backfield to do that last year. But I think if we can move the sticks and the tight ends, and the running game is going to be a huge part of that, we can ease Sayan into this game and get him comfortable. We know he's talented enough. It's just a matter of it's like CJ Stroud against Oregon. It's like the first big game and the big stage, and everything's going to be moving a million miles an hour. By week 3, week 4, week 5, the game will have slowed down for Sayan and he'll be fine. But week 1 is going to be a challenge. So again, those type of opportunities to move the sticks, not necessarily glamour plays. I feel like our defense, again, there's talent all over the field. It'll be interesting to see how it works. But I'm confident in our defense going to this game. If I'm being completely honest and transparent as I think about how this game will go, and I'm not going to give a score, and I hate putting it out there, and I hope I'm wrong. You kind of said it, low expectations. I think gun to my head, Texas wins the game. But I think it's going to be close. And again, if we can control the line of scrimmage, if we can move the sticks and get Sayan acclimated into the ball game, and get some pressure on Arch and maybe force him into the big mistake. And hey, we forced the big mistake in the playoff game last year. So if we can do something like that again, we certainly can win the ball game. So I think it'll be a great one. I look forward to it. I hope I'm wrong. I hope the Buckeyes, surprise us for the good. Not that I'm expecting us to be bad. I just think it's going to be a very tough game. And there's going to be some growing pains in the game.
A lot of what you said, I agree with. I love that you brought up Max Clare. I really think Carnell Tate and Brandon Ennis are going to play huge roles in this too. And James Peoples and Donaldson, the new running back they got from West Virginia. I think the Buckeyes are loaded. But with that said, Texas is too. We don't know exactly what Arch Manning's going to be. We don't know exactly what Julian Sayan's going to be, but they both have that elite pedigree. I I hate to do this too because I think like 99% of the time I've taken Ohio State, but I am going to take Texas again I think Texas squeaks out a close one, kind of like that '05 game, 25-22, something like that, which if you look at that 2005 game, 25-22 would be right on, right on that 47-point line, which is about what I'm thinking. I'm thinking low 20s type game. I don't want to give a prediction either on the score. If I had to, which I guess it's my show, I don't have to, but I'm going to go 24-21. I think Texas gets it done, but man, I hope I'm wrong, and I hope that score is just flipped the other way and Buckeyes win. So I'm going to go Texas in a tight game.
I think we've just known each other too long, because I was like, if I was going to put a score, I was either going to do 24-20 or 24-21. Because so well, I was going to do 20 because I think that we might stall a few drives and kick some field goals. But it's so hard. We're such Buckeye homers, and it's like so hard to. It's so hard not to pick the Buckeyes, and obviously, like, we want to be wrong if we pick against Ohio State, but it is a reality. It's a but I think on the positive side, when you think about Saturday, I think the crowd's always amazing.
Yeah, but
I think in some of these games against the team up north, and in some of these big games where maybe we've had struggles over the years, the crowd has a tendency to get tense.
Yes,
I think it'll be a much more loose and like raucous crowd that might not be as quick to turn on the team when they're not playing well, or if we're not playing well. That being said, there's still going to be jackasses screaming and doing whatever, but we have a national championship in our pocket, and that buys some equity with the fan base. So I think there'll be a little more patience because we've all been in Ohio Stadium when it gets like that, and sometimes I'm just like, I almost think we're better off playing on the road than playing at home when the crowd is like quiet and tense and whatever. So hopefully, it can be excitement. Maybe the game starts off well. So I think the crowd will definitely be an ally in this game. Not that it isn't, but you know what I'm saying. Like, I think it'll be more of an ally.
Exactly what you're saying. Yep.
And I know, like, people like Paul Feinbaum said we're going to have a championship hangover. I think that is complete bullshit, because most of the guys are gone. I don't think it's a championship hangover. Right. I think you're literally just – it's a bunch of guys who we really haven't seen. And the coaches know what they can do, but we all know that you've coached sports. I've coached younger people sports, but there's a difference between what somebody can do in practice and what somebody does in that game.
Yep.
And that's why I always say this is like Christmas. This is like better than Christmas, because we're going to see all these guys that we've been hearing about. And you're going to see what they can do, and you're going to see stars and future stars blossom in front of our eyes. And this game is not the make or break, end all be all.
Yes.
But it's a fun test on the biggest possible stage. So in the best possible weather. So it really doesn't get any better than this. Yeah. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Let's just hope for a win and find out and see what happens. That's the best we can do as fans. We have no control over it, but we like to pretend we do at some point. But I think Small Dino said it, and it's like he's completely at peace with this team, and I think you and I agreed with that statement 100%. And that's kind of how I feel. Like, this team has this by no means is going to like rest on a championship last year. They have guys that are elite talent that want to get it done on their own too. But again, the best thing the college football world has done is expand that playoff, because there is not, games like this should exist. Because if you had a game like this 5 years ago, the loser's out.
Yeah,
basically. The loser's done for the season. This is not a make or break game necessarily for the season, but it will give the team that wins, seeding rights going into the playoffs. But it's going to be fun, and again, we're putting a lot of our hopes and hype into 18 to 22-year-olds, and God bless them. So love it. Go Bucks, and it's going to be a fun one regardless. We obviously are hoping for a win, but Buckeye fans, get out, be loud, and support this team. And I'm sure and one thing I will say too, as someone that's been to Austin, Texas, has been to a bunch of different schools. Michigan, I've been to. Michigan wasn't great, but Penn State I've been to. Penn State was great. We've been to Purdue. That was great. We're going to Wisconsin later. Nebraska's been awesome, but there are great fan bases and there are terrible fan bases. Be the better one. Go buy that piece of shit with a Stetson hat on, a beer, and you can talk a little trash, but have fun. Like in this world we're living in, I feel like everyone, it's like do or die. Like if you don't support my team, we can't, we can't coexist. It's kind of like politics have fed into college football, but hopefully everyone have some fun. We send the Texas fans home a little sad, but we come out victorious. But we'll wrap it up with that. Greg, enjoy the game. I know you're going to be there, and we'll have plenty of other great Buckeye moments throughout the season. This is just game 1 of 12, but there's going to be a lot of good stuff coming forward in the 2025 season. So regardless, win or lose, we got a great season ahead. Go Buckeyes, and we'll leave it there. So for Greg, I'm Justin. This has been the 330 Sports Show, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
You're listening to this show on Youngstown Studio. This is original Youngstown content. Feel free to share our videos and tell your friends about us. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and